This is just a quick tutorial on how to set up your virtual tours on the Property 24 website. Let's take a look who this is for. Firstly, this would be for real estate agents that currently have invested in a virtual tour setup, which shoot their own virtual tours, that are also able to stitch their tours as well as compile them in software that they use for their own websites. It is also for virtual tour service providers. So if you are a provider that is currently creating virtual tours for the real estate industry and for estate agencies, and you would like to get your tours onto Property 24, this is the route you need to follow. So let's take a look at some general guidelines. Only virtual tours that are created in EasyPano TourWeaver can be used. The Property 24 virtual tours are hosted on the Property 24 servers. That means you cannot hotlink or provide us with a link to just link to your tour which you are hosting. For security purposes as well as dependability, Property 24 likes to host the tours themselves. You're going to need a computer with Windows to compile your tours, and that will become evident later. Unfortunately, the Property 24 servers accept a specific way that the tours are compiled and the algorithms that it's rendered out in. So if you are using a Mac, maybe take a look at getting Windows and load it on Boot Camp and compile your tours through Windows. Any of the virtual tours that you submit must not exceed 10 megabytes. Anything above that will be rejected by the servers and your tour will not display. When it comes to tours, some guys just think if they do one scene of a property, it constitutes a virtual tour. Obviously, there are benefits by loading listings onto Property 24. It automatically gives the listing a higher ranking. So some people think that they can just do one scene and upload it and that'll do the trick. Unfortunately, when it comes to the amounts of scenes or areas that you need to do, you need to have a minimum of 3 scenes for a vacant stand, and for a property with a dwelling on at least 5. So that covers the main areas such as one outside, your main living area, kitchen, bathroom and main bedroom. You have a maximum amount of scenes which is equal to 9. Anything above 9, firstly you might have issues with the size. It might be above 10 megabytes depending on your image quality, and as well anything above 9 does tend to slow down the player, especially if the end user is viewing it on a slow line speed. When it comes to stitching your tours, a lot of guys shoot with just a normal wide angle lens and they do one row, which would give you a cylindrical panorama. These, unfortunately, we cannot accept. It has to be a full 360 degree on both axes. This can be captured in any way. Your gyroptic products are good. If you're using a DSLR with a fisheye lens, that's all good. Just as long as we can see the roof and we can see the floor below, that's all fine. I know some virtual tour service providers like to edit their stitched images, so to correct lighting and correct contrast and saturation and all those type of things. That is fine to do that, just as long as you don't overdo it that the place looks surreal. The images themselves, if you do, let's say for instance you're shooting your tour and a kid walks in front of the shot, or there's a dog that's not supposed to be there, unfortunately the tours that you do, nothing can be manipulated. So if there's a big crack in the wall, you have to leave it in. You have to show the property for what it is. So if there is a factor that does come into your shot, which can be avoided, such as a dog or a child or the owner of the house walking in front, rather redo it and get it right. The ideal width of your rendered images or panoramas should be about 3,500 pixels. It's best to push these out at about 72 to 96 dpi. The quality on that is still great for the average screen, and it keeps your sizes down as well. When it comes to branding, all branding has to remain as per the template. The loading page, which we'll get to a little bit later, has got the Property 24 logo on, and that is the only branding that's allowed to be on the site. The contact details of the estate agents, such as telephone numbers, email addresses, and websites, may not appear anywhere on the tour. The reason for this is the tour is being viewed on Property 24. If they were to get the details off there and contact the estate agency, Property 24 has no way of recognizing that as a click through, and obviously it skews their statistics. So very strict on that. Make sure there is no contact details on the tours whatsoever. The agency may have its branding on the nadirs. That is the only place where you may put agency branding. There again, no contact details whatsoever. You are, if you are a virtual tour service provider, allowed to integrate your own branding or contact details onto the nadir. So let's take a look at TourWeaver itself. Any version from TourWeaver 6 and up can be used. When it comes to compiling the tours, unfortunately, no hotspots or image links within the tour are allowed. So navigation will be strictly according to what the template allows. We also don't accept any visual effects and sound effects. I know with TourWeaver you can put in rain and snow and all that type of stuff. It really doesn't look good. It's unprofessional, so try and stay away from that. Also try and keep the music out of it. There's no need to put any music to it. Alright, so let's jump straight into it. What I'm going to do now is just give you guys a bit of a brief overview of the template, what it's all about, how you get it to work, and what parameters you need to follow. So firstly, if you're watching this, the chances are good that I would have sent you the skin, which is these files over here. To get the skin into TourWeaver, you go into your TourWeaver file, so into your C drive, your program files, into EasyPano, and you should then under TourWeaver get the skin folder. If I open this up, you'll see that all the skins in TourWeaver are presented over here. This is the actual skin file here, and then in this folder you'll see all the assets to the skin sit in here. So if at any point in time your skin doesn't look exactly the same as mine, just go into your assets folder and you can pull it out from there. Okay, so if you go into TourWeaver, I've obviously compiled a tour here already. Let's start with the loading window. Here on the loading window you can see it's just the Property 24 branding, and we have the progress bar at the top over here. Jumping into the main window might look a bit strange for some of you, but the scene viewer is running at a dimension of 640 by 600. This is what the P24 site has been designed to accept. So please don't try and push this thing automatically to full screen or to scale to browser window. It will fail. Keep it on a specified size, 640 by 600. So if you take a look here on the top of the scene viewer, we've got a graduated bar here, as well as a menu button. This menu button activates a pop-up window. The pop-up window will display at the bottom of the scene viewer. This has your scene selector here, as well as navigation commands over here. So this would be your up and down, left and right on your scene. We have a full screen button here, as well as a floor plan button here. Make sure that your indicators or your arrows are active here, and make sure as well that your scenes that you bring in, if you haven't done this before, you click on the scene selector, go to list values, and you can then bring them all in there. Now by default, TourWeaver leaves it at full view. You need to go and change this to partial view, and if that is an area which is not really desirable, you can go and pan it across here to get a decent thumbnail. So make sure all of those are done in that manner, and that's about it that you need to do over here. If these arrows are not showing up over here, they can be changed here and here. Okay, so let's jump into the map viewer. If you go back to your main window and to map, if you want to, you can add a floor plan. It is advisable to add the floor plan. It adds a lot of value to your virtual tour. With your floor plans, you need to put radars in, which you can get over here. You can just use the normal standard default one, pull it in, and then obviously link it to a certain area. So just make sure that your radar or your angle of view on your radar corresponds with the angle of view over here. If you have got a property which is multi-leveled, you need to create a plan for each single level, and then obviously load each plan in here and allocate your radars for each of those tours that you do on the separate levels. If you do not do a floor plan, or you are lazy, I know some of you are very lazy and you don't feel the need to do it, please use this. I have included it in the files that I've sent you. So with your map, please add that in so that if somebody does click on the map, they get this notification. Over here on my tours, you can see I have added in a nadir. Some people prefer not to add it in. Some guys actually like to do to complete it at the bottom, so that it doesn't look as if there was a tripod standing there. So filling in the floor space where your tripod took up the place. Other guys just like to leave it blank at all. If you are going to be leaving it blank, just make sure to mask it off by setting your initial tilt over here, your minimum, so that it doesn't go into that black space, so that it's not viewed. Okay, so let's publish our tour. When it comes to publishing, make sure that you select the automatic flash HTML5 option. You can output it to wherever you want to, and what I find works the best is the folder name, to actually create it with the property 24 reference number. If we take a look at our tabs, make sure that generate files for auto run CD is off. The rest of it is fine. And then with Flash VR, make sure your slice display is off and that your multilingual tour is off. This way you'll just save a bit of space with that. Great, so once you've rendered your tour out, depending on your destination folder, you should have a folder then where your tour is situated. If you open your tour up, you've got your auto, and then going through to there, you've got your Flash tour, your HTML5 tour, and whatever you decided to name your project. Now, first things first here is your HTML file this executable HTML file, you need to change that name, and you need to name it index. Next up, you can take the HTML5 folder and delete it. Unfortunately, P24 doesn't add the option on its Mobi site for the virtual tours, so it'll only be viewed on desktop. So to save a lot of space, we take the HTML5 folder out and only let it run in Flash. Okay, so once you have your index file renamed and you have your Flash folder, and this is very important now, select both of these, right click, go down to send to and compressed zip folder. Here you can see I've got other archiving programs active, as you can see here, but the algorithm that Property24 uses to decode these tours has to be compressed through Windows itself. So if you go down to send to compressed zip folder, it should give you your zip file, and then obviously you can take the file that it creates and name it the Property24 reference number. So for those of you who aren't currently uploading your virtual tours yet, for all the new guys, how this is going to work from here on out is I would have invited you to a Dropbox folder, which should look something similar to this. If you're an estate agency, it's going to have your estate agency name over here under P24 VT, so that you know exactly what this is all about, because you might have quite a few folders in your Dropbox with your agency name. For the guys that are providing the service on behalf of an estate agency, this will also make it quite easy for you to remember what this folder is all about. So the process from here on out is that you're going to upload this tour to Dropbox. We are then going to receive it on our end, vet it, make sure that all the parameters have been kept, and then send it through to Property24. This process can take between 24 and 48 hours to complete. So all that I do now is I can take my tour and copy it into my Dropbox folder, and that's it. Make sure that if you want to keep these files, that you copy it instead of just moving it across, because once the tours have been uploaded, they get moved out of this folder of yours. So that also assists in keeping your Dropbox clear and up to date. Great, thanks for watching, guys. If you guys have got any questions, please feel free to pop me a mail, info@synergyexposure.co.za, and I will gladly get back to you with any assistance. Thank you.